Welcome to Muddled Minds. I don't know how muddled your mind's been lately, but mine sure the hell has been. So we probably all heard about the Tesla Model X crash by now. The fact that there was a guy that was basically watching Harry Potter while driving down a Pennsylvania turnpike, and the car just plowed right into the back of a semi. Now they say the reason it failed, obviously, is because the car couldn't distinguish between the semi and the white sky from the clouds good enough in order to be able to slam on the brakes in enough time to notice that there's actually a vehicle there, which definitely makes sense because this technology is not perfect yet. And the fact that a very short car, since some things are sport cars, and like a huge semi, it sees white, and whites continue with the white clouds, you could easily just indistinguish it and make you crash. But just recently, Tesla claims that they say that the autopilot wasn't even on. Of course, that doesn't make any sense because why would the guy be sitting there watching Harry Potter and driving without autopilot? That makes no sense at all. So obviously, autopilot had to have been on, and Elon Musk and Tesla is just trying to cover their ass. But of course, there's no way to prove it. But obviously, the fact that the guy was watching a movie while driving, I don't think you'd be doing that if you were actually driving. But of course, we know that this autopilot feature is not perfect, and it's not going to be perfect for some few years. And I mean, the guy was in like horrible condition. That car was pretty bad after that crash. Of course, this is not the first time that the autopilot in the Tesla has been blamed for a crash. There have been times where they claim that the Tesla drove off the road and caused the person to crash into the ditch, basically. And there's been other reports in which they claim that the autopilot caused them to crash into a building. Of course, this Pennsylvania crash turnpike is the first fatal crash that the driver was actually killed because, well, how fast he was actually going, and this was on a highway, and basically the top of the car just got completely decapitated off. So this guy probably got cut in half, I imagine. I don't even know. But yeah, it was probably pretty gruesome. Elon Musk still claims that the autopilot that's included in the Tesla is better than human, because it can drive on its own and make decisions that are better and more rational while quicker than the human mind can process. And according to him, if the autopilot truly was on, the crash would not have occurred. But I highly doubt that, because the initial story included the fact that it was a white truck, a semi-trailer, attached to a big old semi, driving down the road, and this car just plowed into the back of it, going extremely fast. So obviously it was going faster than it should have been. And any sane person would have noticed a semi-trailer versus the clouds, even if they were going 50 miles over the speed limit. I don't know how fast the guy really was going, but assuming. But Tesla's got to cover their ass, make excuses. How else are we going to get in the digital age? But that's one thing you got to bring up about Autopilot, though, is there's some other companies out there, like I know Google, I think Apple was going to make a car, something like that, something similar too, in which the fact that they're going to have a self-driving car where there's really no human input. You basically sit into a, it's like a little almost room kind of. You probably still sit like you're sitting in a car because that's the safest way if you do get a crash. But there's no steering wheel, no gas pedals, there's no inputs other than telling it where you want to go, and, a bunch of buttons and stuff, but there's no steering wheel. In that case, if you were in autopilot, there's no way to prevent the crash, compared to something like a Tesla where it's a sports car, but it also has autopilot, which at least is nice because you can drive the car, and then at the same time, if you want to be lazy or you're trying to do other shit, you can put it in autopilot if you truly trust your life to a computer program that potentially has glitches that could, crash you to the back of a semi. But putting that aside, hopefully companies never go to the option where there is no human input into a vehicle, because I would not drive a car if I had no chance to stop it if it really was going out of control. Because that brings up a lot of the facts. I think I've read some articles about what happens if we let the car truly decide one's fate, as in, if the car is going to crash into a bunch of pedestrians, potentially kill like 5-6 people, or the car could quickly crash into the ditch and kill the driver, does it make more sense for the car to crash into the ditch and kill the driver, or keep driving and kill all the pedestrians? Obviously, everybody says, hey, kill the driver. But if I'm the driver, kill the fucking pedestrians. I mean, I don't want to die. So that's one of those big controversies that'll definitely come up as self-driving cars become more common, but it's probably going to be quite a while before they do. I mean, right now, obviously it's a self-driving car, it's a Tesla, and they're all electric cars. And obviously electric cars are not very common right now. It's probably going to be a while before we get to that point. Just for the fact that, yeah, okay, it's running off electricity. But right now in the US, the majority of our electricity is still obtained by burning fossil fuels. So by taking a vehicle and not burning fossil fuels through it using gas or diesel, and then hooking up to electricity that was obtained by using and burning fossil fuels, it makes no dang sense because you're really not saving the environment anything at all, because you're still taking electricity that's burning a crap ton of fossil fuels and throwing a bunch of carbon dioxide up in the air and just still polluting, so it doesn't make any sense. That's the only problem with electric cars. Now, if we had a lot more, return on our stuff by having more maybe wind power, solar, or hydropower that we were able to capture a lot of our energy from and be majority of our energy, then yes, it's a viable option to have electric powered vehicles. But in the current state, it doesn't really make any sense because you're not saving the environment at all. You may or may not save energy depending on where you live. I mean, energy costs, at least, between gas, because gas really isn't that expensive right now. It's been around $2 a gallon for quite a while, which really ain't that bad, A few years ago, when it was like $4, that's when it was bad. Would you really put your life in risk by putting on autopilot and letting it decide how it should handle a situation in which, if it's easier to cause the least amount of damage to the vehicle, least amount of damage to properties, least amount of damage to others, and potential of pedestrian life versus your life, or others' life versus your life, does it make more sense to have the vehicle protect you, or does it make more sense to have the vehicle to protect others? Obviously, if you're driving the vehicle, you want it to protect yourself, but other people want themselves to be protected, because why do they want some random person to be protected while multiple other people could potentially be in grave danger? But with that, autonomous cars, the self-driving with the autopilot is definitely a little shady right now, and I think even Tesla warns that it's basically in beta stage, so it's definitely not something to be driving with down the turnpike, flying, watching Harry Potter, and crashing into the back of a semi, because, well, it's bound to happen, and it's probably going to happen again, even though this was the first time. But what can you do? Technology, man, it will be advancing a lot faster than we think. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Check out another one sometime. Thanks.